So from here on out, pro-life will be referred to as pro-birth. Because if they were pro-life, they would actually do things to try to maybe prevent abortions, you know? But do they support sex education? No. Do they help support orphan programs like SNAP that would help out, you know, mothers in poverty? No. Have they said anything about the women in the detention center in Georgia, these black and brown women having their uteruses, having hysterectomies removed, like, against their will? No. So that's why we're going to break down this pro-birth argument today. It's about to go down. Hey, what's up, y'all? It's your girl, domdelcielo here. Back with another video. It's going to be an intense one, so I'm not going to go too long on the intro. My name's Dom. I do videos every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday, so make sure that you hit the like button, subscribe, share with your friends, and comment down below if you have any questions or if you want me to cover anything else. Just make sure to take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. Come on. Let's all be friends here. Okay. Our friend, Classically Abby, had made this little pro-birth video that was an ad, and it was like about 8 minutes long. I wanted to do a critique of it, but everyone else kind of beat me to it, so I was like, okay, I'll just kind of let that one go. But she did a follow-up video to that video where she read people's pro-choice comments, and I mean, naturally she picked the ones that were kind of like the weakest to review, which I'm not surprised. I mean, like, don't pick out the one that's actually like a good argument, right? But I mean, a couple of them just are good arguments that she hasn't really debunked in any way, and then she tries to call out their logical fallacies while making me tons of her own. Like, she has a lot of straw mans. One thing. I'm gonna say one thing. For the premise of my argument, I'm kind of arguing that the fact that babies are parasites. Well, I'm arguing with, like, I'm kind of losing that as my base. The base of my argument is that babies are parasites. I know that sounds harsh, because I know I too am a former parasite. I'm aware of this. But logically, scientifically, think about it. Babies eat, like, what are parasites? WebsterDictionary.com, looking at definitions of parasite. So it's so we have two, an organism living within it or on another organism. Like, babies literally eat whatever babies literally eat whatever the mom eats. They drink whatever she drinks. Whatever she's around, they're absorbing that too. And then it says something that resembles a biological parasite and dependence on something else for existence or support without making a useful or adequate return. Like, that's true though. Like, the only reason I think scientists don't, like, from what I researched, I did like brief research. From what I classify, what I don't say baby, because I mean, like, if you Google it, it's like the first thing that comes up are babies parasites, because, like, technically they are. So looking into it, it's like saying that biologists don't characterize a fetus or a zygote or a baby as a parasite because usually they're from different species. To be a parasite, and then also about, like, taking nutrients from the source and weakening the source and making itself stronger, which kind of, I mean, to a certain extent can happen. It depends on the person's body. Not everyone's built for pregnancy, believe it or not. Parasitical armpits are harmful and necessary to the host. You are damaging in a host of ways. A newborn baby, healthy mother. I mean, that's not subjective there. Harmful and unnecessary. I mean, I guess you can have human life, but, like, there's a lot of things that happen to women's bodies during and after pregnancy. Like postpartum depression, oh my gosh, that's a very serious one there. The main reasons that they don't biologically consider babies parasites, but I'm going to say for the sake of my argument that babies are parasites. So they're a separate living being, but they will need, in a parasitic sense, they're going to need the mother's body to survive. Well, that's really the only thing too that they do have a difference from actual parasites, is that a baby can't survive on its own eventually at some point in time if it you know, as it grows, but if it doesn't get that far into growth and development, it can't survive on its own separate life form. You know what I mean? So like if a baby like at 6 weeks, but if you like, it's got a heartbeat, it's its own set. Well, take it out then. Take it out then. Let that motherfucker walk. Oh, it can't? Oh yeah, because it needs to sit in my uterus still? That's what I thought. So for sake of argument, I'm just arguing that the baby is a parasite, okay? Oh, but first, classically, Abby's gonna try to be funny. Prepare to not be amused.
When you see an ad for Tide, you don't jump into the comments on their videos and say, well, I use Shout and I don't want to see your Tide ads in my feed. You chose to be here.
The fuck is wrong with you? What?
She continues, stop telling others what to do with their bodies. So for this style of argument, the argument of don't tell others what to do with their bodies, we do that already, all the time. In the sense of, we tell people not to steal. We tell people not to commit murders. We tell people not to do things that affect other people. And so when you are pregnant and you want to abort your child, you are doing something that is affecting another person, the infant within you. At the end of the day, it doesn't hurt you in any way. Again, this is the kind of argument that we can talk about with a lot of different things. It doesn't hurt me directly when somebody steals from a store down the block. It doesn't hurt me directly when somebody gets murdered 3 states away. But that doesn't mean that you should be able to do it.
Like, this is dumb. Don't tell what to do with their bodies. Yeah, like, there's a difference between theft and murder versus, like, my diet or my vagina, okay? Like, what the hell? So it's like, if some guy tells me to, like, have to bang him, like, do I have to? So what to do with my body? No, I don't, because that's, like, over, like, this part, like, I have agency over, like, what's done to my body, like, to my person. Like, literally, theft, I mean, it kind of affects us all just because that inventory's missing, they have to, like, increase prices, so that's causing inflation as well, but we can get into that another day. And then murder, obviously, you're gonna hurt someone by killing their actual friends and family. And I feel like it's just a dumb premise in general. Like, I don't get her argument at all. We already do that because, yeah, those things will actually hurt people. But, like, as far as, like, your person, I can't tell you what to do, but sure, if you want to wear makeup, cool. I can't force you to. Right? Like, you can't force people to have babies. Like, I don't know what they don't get about that. Like, it's not up to you. If it's not living in your body, if it's not having to do with your your body, it's not up to you. And then only times that maybe someone else's bodily autonomy will be given up is, like, if they're incapacitated or, like, if they're, like, brain dead, that the family makes decisions for them on their body. But that's about it. Like, if they can't make it on their own. To compare theft and murder to abortion, like, just stop.
I will forever be pro-choice because pro-choice is pro-woman. You can't be pro-woman if you're not pro-women in the womb. Why does being pro-women only apply to the women who are hurting others, including their own daughters?
Everything you're saying is going in one ear and out the other.
The next comment starts, I'm pro-choice. A mother has every right on what to do with her body. If these so women, I think that's a typo, care so much, why don't they adopt kids that are homeless, hungry, and in and out of foster homes? So this is a false dichotomy that is very often brought up by people on the pro-choice side of the argument. And the idea is that if you care about not murdering babies, then you must also adopt every child that is born and is put into foster care. That doesn't really make sense.
First things first, this premise of having to adopt all the children, that's a straw man. Nobody ever says that. You have to adopt all the children. Like, they say you should adopt some children, like whatever you can afford. Because again, like, I don't think there's any point of adopting a kid to give them a crappy life. Like, what's the point? Like, what's the point of that?
If you don't want people to get murdered in America, does that mean that you then have to become a police officer?
I mean, it would help.
No. As the people who aren't police officers, we can support law enforcement and just do the basic thing of standing against murder. And outside of that, religious pro-life people, predominantly Christians, adopt at higher rates than anybody else. So we are trying to do our best to provide good lives for the children that we save. But not every person who is pro-life is in a position to adopt a child.
And not every person that gets pregnant is in a position to care and raise a child. So
get out their coochies because it's not your business. Period. Period.
But they still don't believe that murder should be the best alternative. So, of course, they're going to support children being born, even if they're not in a position to adopt that child.
So the claim you're trying to make is that we're making the false dichotomy, false dilemma, fallacy is kind of like black and white fallacy, either or fallacy. And that's really not where we're like, it's basically line of reasoning that fails by limiting options to two when there are much more options to choose from. Which is definitely, like, it's more so what she's doing. Like, no one said she had to adopt all the kids. Like, again, I've never heard that before. Like, thing is, well, what are they going to do if women are being forced to have babies? What are they going to do to take care of these babies? 400,000 children from, like, ages, I believe, 5 to 21 in some states. But 400,000 children in the system at one time.
So while with adoption there have been many strides, so she is right that Christians are twice as likely to adopt as any other people population. That is true. There's been more openness to gay couples adopting children, which is great. It's in foster care, so a lot of children reports is like from 25 to 40% of former foster children report having been abused or neglected in care. And then also a study from Johns Hopkins University found that children who were in group homes are 28 times more likely to be abused than children not living in these homes in foster care. And also, too, it says that children who are in foster care are 4 times more likely to be sexually abused than children who are not in this setting. Crazy. And the average child will spend 2 to 5 years before being adopted, and almost 20% of them, so a fifth of them, spend 5 or more years in foster care before being adopted, and then some people never get adopted and age out of the system, basically, is what happens. Of the 400,000 children that are in foster care in the U.S., 114,556 cannot be returned to their families and are waiting to be adopted. So at any given time in the U.S., there are around, I'm being generous here, 100,000 children who aren't adopted, who are just floating in the system. And this is a big issue people take into account a lot when weighing their options of if they do want to put a child through this raggedy system. Like, to put this in Caucasian terms. So if 9/11 happened 33 times, that's how many children that are currently floating in our current foster system any minute that are waiting to be adopted. It's a lot of kids. It's a real problem. It's really something to think about, and really something that, like, is urgently in need of, like, our assistance and our help. Wish I could adopt kids. I would love to adopt kids personally. But, like, I mean, I don't know why they're so worried about kids, the hypothetical unborn kids who may or may not make it through the whole pregnancy process, because, I mean, there's miscarriages really common as well, versus, like, kids that are actually already here and do already need help. And if you have the means to help them, why don't you help them? Why isn't that your focus, versus kids that we're not even sure are going to complete the whole incubation process?
Because I don't think I've never heard anyone say that you have to adopt all the kids. Like, that would be impossible. Unless you were like Bill Gates. Then you should adopt all the kids then. Yeah, it would be him to, like, because he's only the billionaires could actually afford to do that, okay? But, like, no one says that. This kind of decision, we're being pro-choice, you feel this kind of decision is up to each person. Like, it's on you and your morality. Like, at the end of the day, I don't answer to her, I don't answer to the politician, I answer to God, you know what I mean? So, you gotta do what's best for you. That's how I feel personally, even as someone who is, like, Christian.
Okay, but, like, what if a woman gets raped and gets pregnant? She shouldn't have to put herself through that. It's the woman's choice. Of course, with a woman who does get raped and gets pregnant, this is a hard topic and a hard part of the debate, but I do want to address it. So, a couple of things. One, the percentage of women who get abortions because they were raped is 0.5%. It's 0.5%. So it does not make up anywhere near the majority of abortions that women get. That's number one. Number two is that if a woman does get raped, it's a horrible thing that happened. The man should get the worst possible punishment. And women who get raped it's a horrible thing that's happened to them. The fact is that it's not the baby's fault. And we cannot blame the child for how it was brought into this world. The wages of sin of the baby's father are not paid out by the baby's life. Yes, this is a really hard situation, and mothers who go through this, it's not something I could ever imagine, but it is something that we do need to talk about and to address.
So basically that's her Caucasian way of saying,
hey girl, I'm sorry you got raped, but tough titties, you should have that baby. Have that baby. Which I think, because pro-choice means we're pro whatever decision the woman wants to make. Okay, in that case, she may try to have a baby just because, again, the baby is not responsible for what the dad does. But at the same time, it would be hard to love that baby. Like, that's a really big ethical dilemma that I think people need to be able to decide for themselves. Should be decided by the government. Shouldn't be decided for them by right-wing pundits. You know your situation better than anyone else, so you should be able to decide what's best for you. Like, it's not that difficult to understand. Yep, just so you have a reminder of this tragic event of your life, to have and care for this baby, or put it in the horrible foster care system that is broken. So those are your options there. You can't abort it though. You can't just go ahead and abort it, because I mean, it's like Larry talks about freedom, okay? And saying the government's being too interventive in our lives, but at the same time they're like, okay, well, you can't choose what you want to do with your own body. That's not my business. Like, why does freedom only apply to guns but not to actual people? I feel like abortion is better than negligence and being a negligent or abusive parent, because that's you from your whole, like, I mean, honestly, if you look at the world, people are fucked up from their childhoods. So I mean, it's everyone's ethical choice of their own if they want to either keep a child and maybe give it a crappy life, has to go through therapy for, or if it's better off if they just like don't give it a life at all.
The difference between pro-choice and pro-lifers is that pro-choice people don't force their beliefs or decisions on others. That is precisely what you're doing when you put that belief on the baby within your womb and decide to kill it. That is putting your choice, your belief, your decision on someone else. I understand that you have a stable financial and home life that allows you to take care of your mistake of a child. You calling my future children a mistake, or anyone a mistake for that matter, tells me that you do not take this topic very seriously. Because you don't take human life very seriously.
Don't play that conservative victim card there. How could you call my child a mistake, bro? It's the internet. People are just rude for no reason. And they'll read you just because they can. Like, it's just one of those things.
But not all of us do, Karen. I've been called a Karen before.
As the woman who said slavery, who said African slavery, and genocide were bad decisions, yeah, like, it's not surprising me that you are a Karen. Not surprised one bit. No, not surprised.
We call ourselves pro-choice for a reason, not pro-abortion. Yeah, because pro-abortion doesn't have the same ring to it as pro-choice.
Oh, and pro-forced birth doesn't have the same ring as pro-life now, does it? You can play this game, bitch. What's up?
But also, let's talk about this very quickly. If you saw the movie Unplanned about Abby Johnson, she worked with Planned Parenthood. And in Planned Parenthood's financial structure, they did try to encourage women to have abortions because it was important for the way that they ran. They needed the money that abortions brought in. So Planned Parenthood is putting their views on other people, is encouraging people to get abortions, is encouraging abortion as part of its business model.
Oh, that's cute, Abby. Using other Abby's anecdotal evidence to try and make your point. Oh, but so bad you're wrong.
Okay, awesome. So I do actually have an article here from The Cut called Unplanned is a movie that could get someone killed.
It was published last April 2019. And so it does have the sources in here in the article, so I'm going to leave it down below because y'all know I'm legit as fuck. I don't like to say anything that's not backed up by any other previous research.
Go to the main part here, because obviously, like, if you look at this, like, I've seen Christian propaganda movies. Like, I actually did enjoy the first, like, God's Not Dead, I'm not gonna lie. Like, that one was a good one, okay? That one was a good one, but the second one was like, okay, you're doing too much.
And so writer directors Chuck Knowlesman and and Carrie Solomon, who previously wrote British dramas God's Not Dead 2, make it clear right away that Planned Parenthood is the bad guy here. Well, Unplanned's hero is the Coalition for Life, a Christian anti-abortion group in Texas that gouged outside clinics to dissuade women from going inside, and claims on the website that Planned Parenthood's sex education program has deadly influence on the youth of today. again, sex education has saved lives. It saves people from getting abortions. To not blame women for getting abortions. They're portrayed as helpless pawns, convinced and manipulated by evil Planned Parenthood staffers, eager to swipe their credit cards. Most people don't want to get an abortion, like, honestly. And that should be, that's part of the problem too, like, so yeah, and they can profit off this because there's so much restriction on abortion, then it can't just be free and part of healthcare. That's a problem too, so they wouldn't have to, like, be as, like, rushed into decisions, but capitalism doesn't care about your feelings, doesn't care about your body, it just says we want your money. Plan with how I believe Planned Parenthood promotes STI and cancer screenings, wellness exams, and contraception to cover up the fact that it's getting rich off providing abortions. In reality, abortions account for less than 4% of its services, and more than 70% of the organization's revenue comes from private contributions, government health services, reimbursements, and grants per Planned Parenthood's most recent annual report. So they have to, as a public organization, they have to report all the services they do and what money they make on an annual basis. So obviously, they're not pushing abortions. They're not making that much money off abortions. First off, so that's not true. The movie trace far from scientific research published in credible medical journals, which have found that less major complications in the first trimester abortions occur at a rate less than 0.5%. But that is unlikely to matter to like, their audience doesn't care about that anyways. Yeah, I mean, honestly, they don't. They're looking for anything.
Children literally do steal our freedom. I'm not having a child until I want to, okay? Smiley face. This is what I was just saying about people actively thinking that having children is bad. They actively think that a child is literally stealing your freedom.
Also, like, why is she having, like, a baby doesn't change your entire life? Especially if you decide to become a parent, like, your child is always your first priority. Like, it takes a village to raise it takes a village to raise a child. Like, I don't know if you're trying to act like, oh, it steals your freedom. Like, it doesn't steal your freedom. Like, you do. Like, you cannot live the same life you were living before having a child without neglecting that child. And again, that's where the problem people come to with being lower income, of deciding if they want to keep a child or have an abortion, to possibly leave that child a bad life. Again, that's a moral decision that everyone should have to answer for themselves.
So number one, I would say that a lot of people would not agree with that statement. They would not say that having a child literally steals their freedom. But if literally stealing your freedom is the baseline for murder, then let's start with the person who wrote this comment. You are your parents' child. At what point do your parents not have the right to kill you since you stole their freedom? If you have a family member who gets injured, do you have the right to kill them because you have to take care of them? When is it not justified to murder someone who limits your freedom? You can see that this argument lacks a sufficient limiting principle.
So, I think with that one, she both straw man and slippery slope at the same time. Like, it's incredible the kind of the bounds of logic that these people will do to justify their points of view. So, right. Well, could my parents kill me? Technically, yes. They can kill me at any point in time. I mean, they have the ability to. They could just take a gun, they could stab me. Technically, they could. Morally, would that be okay? No, probably not. Not to most people. But I mean, there's a difference in these different stages, though. Like, there's a difference because at 6 weeks, a baby doesn't have any, like, a baby can't really feel pain until 25 weeks. So this baby's not sedient, it's not able to survive without being in the mother's womb at this point in time, anytime before 25 weeks. So either at this point, if it's in the first trimester, it's still like, if it's in the first trimester, it's still like a zygote, a pilot says, I believe, and then actually maybe in second trimester, it becomes like a fetus, right? Like something's like an actual fetus. And then like it comes when it's born, it's an actual baby, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, like there's no such thing as like, people say like live-term abortion. It usually means abortion that happens within 23 to 25 weeks, but usually that's happening because the baby has some sort of community that wouldn't survive out of the womb. So, and that's never a fun, like time for the parents. Like people usually 25 weeks they have like a name picked out, or 23 weeks you have a name picked out, and they decide to have a baby, and them having to like not have said baby is just heartbreaking. Like it's just, I can imagine, like it's just heartbreaking. Trying to compare so people get abortions again, they only get abortions before 25 weeks. So we're at the point in time where we're talking about zygote, a pubic cells, or like a fetus that is not sentient, that cannot feel pain until like around 25 weeks, right? So I believe it isn't until 25 weeks that they said that the baby doesn't even get, like, necessary, like, parts of the brain activated to be able to feel pain. That's what I was researched out. Probably link that one below, because I'm trying to remember where it was like some scientist that said that, I promise. So, you mean to tell me that the false equivalency here is going to be that, so a fetus is the same as, like, a full-grown person that's already living? Like, a fetus that can't walk, talk, eat by itself, or feel pain. The same as someone who is like myself, who is currently walking and breathing and living on my own. So we're gonna equate these things, they're the same. Both these things are murder, like, that makes no sense to me. That makes no sense, like, it just makes no sense. That's point one. Then also two, that, like, trying to compare, like, killing someone that's disabled, like, that's just twisted as hell. Like, again, a pile of cells or, like, a fetus is not able to care for itself. It's not the same as another person who is, like, injured and needs to be cared for like, a little bit before they can maybe work for themselves again, or maybe if they have a disability, which they've had this argument a little bit able, to be honest with you, too. Like, so you're saying it's okay just to kill disabled people because they steal your freedom? Like, how is that even, like, how is it even a thought that you have? And it's like, I think it's a good argument. Like, I just don't understand how you think that's a good thought. That's a good argument. There's also equivalency there. So I'm like, and also look at this, the way that, like, this is like the way it escalated up. Like how did because now we're able to, because people are able to get abortions at 25 weeks before the baby's is sedient and can feel pain. How does that translate into killing your full-grown children, or, like, killing little kids, or killing people who are disabled? Like, how does that escalate? And even too, if the baby's been born and they kill the baby, that would be like murder. Like, they would go to trial for that. So I'm like, I'm not sure if the baby was, like, fully formed and they murdered the baby or something, like, that would be a crime. Like, that would be he would go to jail for that. Like, let's just be real. Like, I'm not sure what we should make, like.
Who's gonna tell her that when a baby is in the mother, it is not a separate life form? It is like fruit on a tree. It must stay connected until strong enough. There's a few issues with this argument. Number one is that babies, even when they're born, still need you to nurture them. A baby can't survive right after it's born. A baby can't survive till it's 8, 10, 16. We could run an experiment and see who would survive in the woods left alone. Maybe even if you're 30, you're not gonna do it. So who knows? But we're definitely not self-sufficient after we're born. So what is the difference between a baby in the womb who depends on its mother and a baby right after it's born who depends on its mother? As far as saying that a baby is not a separate life form when it's in the mother, that is a whole other can of worms. Number one is, a baby has a separate genetic makeup from its mother. A mother and her child have distinct genetic codes, and so if a woman is pregnant with a baby boy, the baby boy obviously has an XY chromosome. She has XX chromosomes. By this logic, a mother carrying her son would be a hermaphrodite.
Ma'am, the correct vernacular is intersex.
Because she has female genitalia and her son has male genitalia, and they are one life form. That doesn't make much sense, does it?
I really don't know how she really put this out here, that was a good argument to make. Like, one, intersex just kind of means, like, ranging from, like, naturally having typical male genitalia or female genitalia. That's really all that means. So someone could, like, have a vagina but, like, have balls in there or something like that. Like, or they can have, like, a penis and have, like, a vagina. Like, or, like, they don't necessarily have to have both things. They can almost be, like, at least also they can also have, like, other ambiguous combinations. And also, too, with the two being separate chromosome sets, it's extremely rare for one person to have 4 chromosomes. Like, I mean, it's not like it's possible, but that's extremely rare. Probably some 6 people have, like, 3, so so I don't know what you actually do with that argument, because that just makes no sense. And then again, for sake of argument, baby's a parasite. Okay, at least the zygotes and fetuses are, because sure, they have their own, like, a parasite has its own, like, body, has its own genetic makeup, okay, but it needs your body to survive. Like, at least up until, like, I believe most of the second trimester, that little parasite fetus is not going to survive without your body, like without a woman's womb, without the woman eating and feeding the baby or the fetus, whatever you want to call it, inside her. I mean, that's just a fact. Like, it's not going to be able to survive. Like, even if it's born, like, it's not able to survive. And again, the preemies still die. I mean, less now thanks to medical technology, but it's still possible that baby preemie is only going to die than like a full 9-month term baby. Like, it's way more higher.
According to this, a baby is like a fruit on a tree. It must stay connected until strong enough. So let's think about this scenario. A baby that is born prematurely, that has access to medical care that would allow it to survive, is strong enough to survive outside of the womb and is a baby. A baby that is born prematurely and doesn't have access to that, is that not a baby at the same time? They were born at the same point in the pregnancy. One had access to medical care, one didn't. And only one of those children is considered a baby and is considered a life? Or is neither of them because they couldn't survive without the access to medical care? In which case, we're returning back to the original point, which is that no baby can survive even when it's born 9 months full term without its mother.
Is this ring with the fact that, you know, there are 15 million preemies every year in this country, and then about 1 million of them die. So I guess we're not gonna take that into account of like the reality of our world. Also that approximately 700 women die each year from childbirth and pregnancy complications. And then actually that number is like 4 to 3 times higher for black women than white women. So we ignore these things like a normal Karen does. Just ignore it. We're just gonna ignore it.
Women shouldn't have sex if they don't want kids. Keep that same energy with men. I do. And I think a lot of us feel the same way. Men, stop sleeping around, use protection if you're going to, and even if you're going to use protection, don't sleep with a woman who you don't want to be the mother of your children.
You know, I can agree from this point because, like, baby, Sister and you'll be doing the most, okay? I need to calm down. Like, we need to have people getting more vasectomies. We need male birth control because, think about it, if you get me pregnant, I'm down for 9 months. But you can be out populating the whole freaking world, just getting pregnant like that, because the sperm's just swimming everywhere. Like, we need to stop the men, honestly. We need to stop the men. Honestly, that's what. And we should start with Future, because he has 8 baby mamas and 8 children. Different mamas. Like, sir, you need to do something. You need to get a vasectomy, or we need to, like, get him on, like, a pill, or, like, if there's, like, an IUD for, like, a penis. He needs that ASAP, okay? Stop this man from reproducing. I'm serious. I want to know whatever Republicans impact funds her videos. Please, please, please fund like a vasectomy fund so people will stop having tons of children they can't afford to have, and also don't plan to take care of. Like that. Let's say that for sure.
And only have sex with your wife.
She don't have the wife thing. I'm like, okay, I guess. I guess they can be married. Honestly, I feel like marriage is more beneficial to men than women anyway, so I prove y'all husband material. Period. Prove that you are husband material.
But that doesn't mean I'm going to go and have an abortion. Good! Yay! I love to hear that. It just means that I'm not going to stop or judge people because they do. If you think this is about judgment, you don't understand what we're doing here. It's not about judging women who have had abortions. It's about fighting to stop a bad thing. It's about fighting to protect unborn children's lives. I'm not here to judge people. I'm here to stop a bad thing from happening. I don't think you have to be a bad person to have done a bad thing that had bad consequences. I think that people are victims of a narrative here. It's like standing on the top of the Empire State Building, someone handing you a penny and saying, hey, drop this off the edge, it'll be fine. You do, and you don't realize that that penny could drop and kill someone. You weren't told that that could happen. You were told it would be fine. It happened, someone got hurt. It's not your fault in the traditional sense, but we just want to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Bitch, what? Like, is that even true? And I'm still kind of not sure at all.
You saying that you're pro-choice but you wouldn't have an abortion yourself is like saying that you're pro-murder but you wouldn't murder somebody else. I'm glad that you won't commit murder yourself, but we have to have rules and laws in place that prevent murder from happening overall.
One, has she never heard of like an assassin? Like, they're literally people who are paid to commit murder, so that does already exist. believe that they get caught and they do get like pushed by the wall. So that's like not necessarily like people can just walk free, but I'm like there's service for that. Also, are tons of restrictions on abortion depending on where you go from state to state. A lot of people need permission from their parents. A lot of people need like they have to get like a sonogram first so they can try to like make that last plea to save the baby so you get emotional connection. But like abortion is heavily regulated. Like you're not getting abortion like unless you're going to back out, you're not getting it like snip snap quite that easily. Break it to you.
Some people need abortions because they were either raped and it would be traumatic, or because of health reasons. This doesn't mean they're bad people. It means that instead of having a child and possibly neglecting it and having it grow up unloved, it means that they are being considerate to not only that child, but to their bodies and their mental health. So this kind of argument is made on the pro-choice side pretty frequently. The idea that a baby shouldn't be born into bad circumstances. We don't get to choose somebody's quality of life for them. We don't get to see someone else's suffering and decide that it's too much and that we should end their life.
If we're being cynical, yeah, the decision doesn't like land in your hands because it's not your baby, but the decision is between like the mother and God. Like, dude, it's their body. They have a say of what happens to their body. Like, it's honestly between them and God. Honestly, that's what I'm gonna say. It's between them and God. Whatever higher power they serve. I don't want to be disrespectful to any other religions, but it's between them and their higher power. Like you have no say on how someone's surroundings or what they have to. Someone has to put their body through, has to put their change their life for. Like you have no say.
And if the people in bad circumstances really did think that life wasn't worth living, we would see higher death rates, higher suicides in poor communities, but we don't. These people don't think that they should end their lives because they're in bad circumstances. Why do you get to make that decision for a child? No one gets to decide that a child's life isn't worth living because of the circumstances that it's born into.
Yeah, again, you don't get to choose a baby's circumstances. Again, it's between the mother, and the higher power, and fate or destiny. Like whoever's running the show here on Earth, that's who really is gonna decide anything in the long run. I mean, just to be honest.
Every child's life is worth saving.
So I don't mean to be at the risk, even at the risk of going slightly ad hominem, but the Shapiros, both Ben and Abby, grew up in a two-parent household with Hollywood exec parents. I know they said their dad was a producer, or they said the mom did, but they come from a very affluent background. They really don't understand. I feel like they don't understand the reality of a lot of lower middle class people like myself, and how much of a struggle it is to really make ends meet. And it's interesting too, from before, and I found the study that she used for her statistic on the 0.05 rate being a cause of abortion, because it's from a 2004 study. But that same study, the 20s usually have the most abortions per CDC. Let's see. And then it says also in 2016, black women were 3 times more likely to have an abortion than white women. Now, let's see, in the study that I'm going to put a picture up here, but I'm going to have a link this down below to the source, but she cited before that, yeah, the 2004, the gut muncher student anonymously surveyed 1,209 post-abortive women from 9 different abortion clinics across the country. The surveyed women, 957 prior reasons for having an abortion, so 0.5 victim of rape, 3% fetal health problems, 4 physical health problems, but I think one of the biggest ones, after not being ready for a child, the biggest one is can't afford a baby, which is a big part of the conversation that she really left out. Oh, it's not a circumstances, but I mean, it does, though. It does. These things like childhood poverty scar you for life, both physically and psychologically. I don't know what she thought she was doing there, because it's just you're really not making a point at all. You're just making and showing that you understand. You don't understand what it's like to be in poverty, and you don't understand what it's like to have a life where you've had to decide if you're going to eat one for 2 weeks or you're going to just pay your rent. It's tricky. It's tricky. Also, too, what she said about poverty is wrong, okay? There's a study that came out this year, this article again down below, from June 2020, that says, study higher poverty tied to increased youth suicide risk. People who are poor do feel more despair. So, young people are more likely to die by suicide in high poverty communities, a new study indicates. Let's see. Youth suicides have climbed in the U.S. in recent years. The new study published Monday in the journal JAMA Pediatrics Museums, where young people may be most at risk analysis of nearly 21,000 deaths over a decade shows that U.S. counties with high rates of 20%, people 5 to 19 years old were 37% more likely to die by suicide than counties with less than 5% of residents living in poverty. So yeah, found children that are principally to die by firearm suicide in counties with high poverty concentration. Okay, there are differences in availability of firearms. Each of the poverty categories, all types of communities are experiencing higher suicide rates over time. So I mean, I've noticed a lot more black suicides, a lot more suicides for people of color. So, and I mean, we talked about like Asian Americans. That's a link that video down below. Also, they have extremely high suicide rates as well too, even though they may be affluent. But like, it's like people honestly have problems with mental health in this country, especially like not having adequate resources to be able, like, so not only to be able to have therapy, but also like not being able to provide for yourself or have a stable income or have a stable lifestyle is very emotionally and physically draining a lot of people, and it does actually lead people to think that their lives aren't worth living. So she's wrong about that, and she's also doesn't understand the struggle of being in poverty. So the single motherhood, which is pretty common now. It's pretty much the norm among all ethnicities. Okay, a lot of them are poor. So like about 80% of the single mother parents are, of all single parent families in the U.S., so much the majority. Okay, most of them are never married. So let's see. If a single mother is able to work, her earning power still lags significantly behind a man's, compared to about 79 to off the same job, leaving a wage gap. Wages barrier even greater for women of color. African American women, black women earning 64 cents the dollar, while Hispanic and Latinas fare around 56 cents the dollar of men in their same fields, respectively. Single mother earners' income places some below earners monthly with married. So single mothers are more likely to be poor than married couples. Poverty rate for single mother families in 2018 was 34%, and nearly 5 times the rate for married couple families, 6%. Hardship, okay. At least 1/3 of single mothers' families are food insecure, which means they don't have, they're about 1/9 use food pantries. A third spent half their income on housing, which generally lifts their threshold of severe housing cost burden, welfare, and food stamp receipts. So like one of those ones I know that she did try to leave with like a wig or something like that. So majority of SNAP households with children are single mother households. So 59% of them, only 12% receive cash benefits from TAF, and then a small percentage so let's see here. And then among children with single mothers, 38% get food stamps, while 62% don't. Only roughly 2/3 of these children receive free or reduced lunch meals. Only 8% of children in single mother families receive TAF. And then 13% of single mothers had no health care coverage. And a lot of people have a hard time avoiding health care and different issues. So there's a lot of factors that go into if someone wants to keep a child and if they can afford to raise a child. I think that's a very big part of this that she failed to talk about, which I think is very legit on her part. Pro-choice literally means just that. Pro-choice. Like we support whatever choice someone wants to make with her own body. But most importantly, it's about abortion prevention. So sex education, protection, birth control, that kind of stuff. That's way more so what we advocate for. As someone who's a pro-choice person, I want to just make that known. No one's pro-abortion over here. So I'm a birth control, so I don't have to have an abortion. But yeah, that's going to be it for this video. If you like this video and you think I did a good job of reading down these really faulty pro-force with arguments, please just go ahead and just like, share, and subscribe. And then also please to leave in the comments or email me anything you want me to critique or react to. Would love that very much. And till next time, bye.